The partnership meeting happens Friday morning in our conference room overlooking Boston Harbor. Tom, David, Michael, and I sit around the mahogany table. James's chair is empty. He's still in Chicago, extending his romantic weekend with Catherine. We need to discuss James's expense patterns. I begin, distributing the analysis I've prepared. Tom reviews the documentation with growing concern. These numbers are unusual. Travel expenses up 40%, but new client acquisition down 15%, David adds. That's inverse correlation. I've presented the data without revealing personal knowledge. Corporate credit card charges that don't correlate with business development. Expense reports showing personal purchases disguised as client entertainment. Travel patterns suggest romantic getaways rather than business meetings. It appears James has been using partnership resources for personal purposes, Michael says. That's my assessment. What do you recommend? Immediate performance review with expense monitoring. If the pattern continues, we initiate buyout proceedings under misconduct clauses. The beauty of the strategy is its legitimacy. I'm not manufacturing false accusations. James has genuinely violated our partnership agreement, genuinely used corporate resources for personal purposes, genuinely compromised our business integrity. The fact that his misconduct involves sleeping with my wife is irrelevant to the business case for his removal. Within an hour, I have a unanimous consensus. James's performance is unacceptable. His expense practices violate partnership standards. Monday morning, James returns from Chicago looking relaxed and confident. He enters our conference room expecting a routine business discussion. Instead, he finds 4 partners with expressions that could freeze Lake Michigan. We need to discuss some concerns about expense management, I begin. His expression shifts. What kind of concerns? Tom presents the analysis, expense reports that don't match business outcomes, corporate charges that appear personal, and travel patterns inconsistent with client development. These are serious violations, Michael says. Personal use of corporate resources is prohibited. James's face hardens. Are you questioning my integrity? We're questioning your judgment, David replies. The numbers don't support your claims. I watch James process the situation. He's realizing his affair with Catherine has created professional vulnerabilities he never considered. The corporate charges he used to impress my wife are now evidence of partnership violations. #the numbers never lie. I've been staring at this computer screen for 20 minutes, and the number hasn't changed. $50,000. Gone. The grandfather clock chimes midnight. Catherine's asleep upstairs, kissed me goodnight around 10, whispering about an early meeting tomorrow. But I'm discovering my wife has been stealing from me. The withdrawal shows Catherine's digital signature. March 15th, $50,000 transferred to her personal account, then withdrawn as cash over the following week. This is what I do for a living: find hidden money, trace financial deceptions, and uncover corporate fraud. I've built a career reading between the lines of balance sheets. I can spot fake expense reports from across conference rooms, but I missed 18 months of systematic theft by the person who shares my bed. I open a new spreadsheet. Date, amount, account, cross-reference. February 8th, $25,000 from our mutual fund. January 22nd, $15,000 from our emergency fund. December 10th, $30,000 from our retirement account. When I add them up, the total makes my chest tighten. Over $200,000. Gone. Catherine handles our household finances. Division of labor. Trust between partners. Except she's been using that trust to rob me blind. The credit card statements tell the next part. Hotel charges in cities I've never visited. Restaurant bills for expensive dinners I never ate. Shopping sprees for clothes I've never seen her wear. Before we continue with today's story, if you're enjoying what you've heard so far, please hit that subscribe button. Every new subscriber helps me keep sharing these inspiring tales that touch your day. Thank you for your support. But I know who she bought those clothes for. I know who shared those dinners. James Morrison, my business partner. My friend for 15 years. Best man at our wedding, godfather to our daughter Sarah. I cross-referenced James's travel schedule with Catherine's charges. Phoenix Hotel, March 10th to 12th. James was in Phoenix March 10th to 12th. Scottsdale Resort, February 20th to 22nd. James was in Scottsdale February 20th to 22nd. Perfect correlation. Statistical significance beyond a reasonable doubt. My business partner is sleeping with my wife, and she's using our money to finance their affair. My phone buzzes. Text from James. Phoenix meeting went great. Henderson's account looks promising. Timestamp, 11:45 p.m. He's texting from Phoenix, where my wife spent $1,200 yesterday on dinner for two. They've been playing me for a fool. The two people I trusted most have been working together to destroy me, using my own money to do it. I save the spreadsheets to an encrypted folder. The evidence feels weighted with betrayal that goes beyond simple adultery. This isn't just about sex. This is theft, fraud, financial deception on a scale that would send corporate executives to federal prison. Catherine hasn't just broken marriage vows. She's committed crimes with the methodical patience of a long-term investment strategy. The clock chimes 2 a.m. Tomorrow, I'll begin investigating my own life with the same forensic precision I bring to corporate audits. I'm not just the accountant. I'm the victim planning to become the prosecutor. I walk upstairs, past the bedroom where my wife sleeps peacefully. She looks innocent in the moonlight. Beautiful, serene. But innocence is performance. Beauty is weaponry. Serenity is the calm of believing you've successfully deceived the person who loves you most. For the first time in our marriage, I see Catherine clearly. Not as my wife or partner or mother of my daughter. I see her as a criminal who happens to live in my house. Catherine made her choice 18 months ago when she started stealing from me to finance her affair with James. She chose deception over honesty, theft over integrity, betrayal over trust. Now it's my turn to choose. Because the numbers never lie, and neither will the consequences I'm about to unleash. The next morning, I sit across from Catherine at breakfast, watching her scroll through emails. She's wearing the diamond bracelet from our November credit card statement, the one I supposedly bought for our anniversary. Sleep well? I ask. Like a baby. She glances up, smiling. You were working late again. Something like that. James called this morning. I continue. The Phoenix expansion is moving faster than expected. Something flickers in her eyes. That's wonderful. You've both worked so hard. She knows exactly how hard James has been working in Phoenix. He'll be back Friday, I say. Maybe we should have him for dinner. Panic flashes across her face. I have a book club on Friday night. Book club. Catherine's cover for affairs, like offshore accounts, hides corporate assets. Of course. After she leaves, I return to Operation Audit. The theft is more sophisticated than simple cash withdrawals. She's been liquidating assets systematically, converting joint wealth into untraceable funds. I create a timeline mapping every transaction against James's travel schedule. Perfect correlation. Every major withdrawal corresponds to his business trips. This isn't passion or weakness. This is calculated theft executed with pension fund patience. My phone rings. Patricia Chen, the divorce attorney I consulted yesterday. Robert, I've reviewed your documentation. We need to meet immediately. Her office overlooks Boston Harbor. Patricia is sharp as surgical steel, with 20 years dissecting failed marriages. Your wife has been remarkably thorough, she says. This suggests long-term planning. She's not just having an affair, she's executing financial strategy. For what purpose? Two possibilities. Accumulating assets for a new life, or preparing for divorce and hiding wealth before disclosure. Patricia sketches defensive strategies. Asset transfers to individual accounts. Trusts limiting her access to joint property. Business restructuring, separating personal from corporate holdings. The key is implementing changes without triggering suspicion, she explains. Your wife has planned for 18 months. We need to outthink her. How long do I have? Based on escalation patterns, 6 to 8 months before she makes a major move. That evening, I reviewed the protection documents Patricia prepared. Each page represents a chess move, defensive positioning to limit Catherine's options while protecting my financial future. Catherine comes home humming softly, the same melody she's hummed for years when happy about something. Now it sounds like a funeral march. How was your day? I ask. Productive. She begins preparing dinner, salmon with vegetables, my favorite. She's performing devoted wife with the same precision she brings to stealing from our accounts. I've been thinking about retirement planning, I say. Patricia Chun suggested trust restructuring for tax advantages. Catherine's hands pause. More paperwork? Estate planning protects assets for Sarah's inheritance. Whatever you think is best. The trust in her voice is perfect. She believes I'm the same naive husband who funded her affair for 18 months. She has no idea I'm 3 moves ahead in a game she doesn't know we're playing. Monday morning, I drive Catherine to the airport for her book club retreat. She kisses me goodbye, her perfume the same scent she's worn since our honeymoon. I'll miss you, she says. Miss you too. I mean it in ways she can't imagine. I'll miss the woman I thought I married. I'll miss the trust that made our partnership possible. But I won't miss the lies. I won't miss being treated like a subscription service for someone else's adultery. I watch her suitcase disappear into the terminal, then drive to Patricia's office. We have 3 days to implement financial protection while Catherine is in Scottsdale with James. The documents arrive on Tuesday afternoon. To Catherine, they'll look like routine wealth management, trust restructuring, updated beneficiary designations, standard corporate housekeeping. She'll sign them without reading the fine print, trusting my financial expertise, just as I trusted her faithfulness. By Thursday, our primary assets are locked in dual signature accounts. Catherine can't access the investment portfolio without my authorization. The vacation home is transferred to an irrevocable trust. Business interests are restructured to limit marital property claims. When Catherine returns Friday, tanned and relaxed, she finds me preparing dinner. How was the retreat? I ask, pouring wine from a bottle I know she bought with James. Transformative. So peaceful. She settles into her chair. I feel like a completely new person. You look radiant. Adultery apparently agrees with her. She has the glow of a woman who believes she's successfully deceived her husband. I have estate planning documents for you to review, I say, setting papers beside her wine. Trust modifications Patricia recommended. Catherine glances at the paperwork without interest. You handle all financial strategy. I trust your judgment completely. The word trust hangs between us like a blade. She signs each document with her usual flourish, unknowingly constraining her own access to the wealth she's been stealing. Over the following weeks, I will implement the remaining protection strategies with surgical precision. Investment accounts move to institutions where Catherine has no signature authority. The home's line of credit was frozen. Business partnerships restructured. Each change is presented as a routine optimization. Catherine signs authorization forms while discussing dinner plans. She approves trust modifications while scheduling her next girls' weekend. The performance is flawless on both sides. I play the trusting husband while systematically dismantling her access to our wealth. She plays the faithful wife while planning her next romantic vacation. 3 weeks after Scottsdale, James calls from Chicago. The Henderson account is ready to close, he says. Patricia Henderson wants to meet with both partners. When? Next Tuesday. Can you fly out Monday night? I check my calendar. Catherine has marked Tuesday for another book club meeting. She's planning to join James in Chicago. I'll be there, I tell James. We should celebrate after the signing. Dinner at Alinea? Perfect. After he hangs up, I calculate the cost of their Chicago weekend. Hotel suite, $1,500 per night. Dinner at Alinea, $800 for 2. Shopping, typically $2,000. $5,000 for 48 hours of betrayal. But this time, Catherine will be paying with her own accumulated theft money, not funds stolen from joint accounts. There's mathematical elegance to watching her spend stolen money to finance her own destruction. That evening, Catherine announces her Chicago plans. The book club is planning something special, she says. A literary walking tour of historic neighborhoods. How cultural. When? Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll fly out Monday evening. Interesting coincidence. I'll be in Chicago for the Henderson closure. Her fork pauses. Really? What a small world. Indeed. Perhaps we could meet for drinks. Of course, she says, but her smile doesn't reach her eyes. The chess match is accelerating toward endgame, and my opponents are discovering their moves have been anticipated, countered, and turned into strategic advantages. The partnership meeting happens Friday morning in our conference room overlooking Boston Harbor. Tom, David, Michael, and I sit around the mahogany table we bought when the firm hit our first $100 million in assets under management. James's chair is empty. He's still in Chicago, probably extending his romantic weekend with Catherine. We need to discuss James's expense patterns. I begin, distributing copies of the analysis I've prepared. Tom reviews the documentation with growing concern. These numbers are unusual. Highly unusual, David agrees. Travel expenses up 40%, but new client acquisition down 15%. That's inverse correlation. I've presented the data without revealing personal knowledge. Corporate credit card charges that don't correlate with business development. Expense reports that show personal purchases disguised as client entertainment. Travel patterns that suggest romantic getaways rather than business meetings. It appears James has been using partnership resources for personal purposes, Michael says after studying the analysis. That's my assessment as well. What do you recommend? Immediate performance review with expense monitoring. If the pattern continues, we initiate buyout proceedings under the misconduct clauses. The beauty of the strategy is its legitimacy. I'm not manufacturing false accusations or emotional revenge. James has genuinely violated our partnership agreement, genuinely used corporate resources for personal purposes, genuinely compromised our business integrity. The fact that his misconduct involves sleeping with my wife is irrelevant to the business case for his removal. Within an hour, I have a unanimous consensus. James's performance is unacceptable, his expense practices violate partnership standards, and his conduct threatens our firm's reputation. Monday morning, James returns from Chicago looking relaxed and confident. He enters our conference room expecting a routine business discussion, maybe quarterly planning or client strategy updates. Instead, he finds 4 partners waiting with expressions that could freeze Lake Michigan. We need to discuss some concerns about expense management. I begin, keeping my voice neutral and professional. His expression shifts subtly. What kind of concerns? Tom presents the analysis, expense reports that don't match business outcomes, corporate charges that appear personal in nature, and travel patterns inconsistent with client development. These are serious violations of our partnership agreement, Michael says. Personal use of corporate resources is explicitly prohibited. James's face hardens. Are you questioning my integrity? We're questioning your judgment, David replies. The numbers don't support your expense claims. I watch James process the situation. He's realizing that his affair with Catherine has created professional vulnerabilities he never considered. The corporate credit card charges he used to impress my wife are now evidence of partnership violations. I can explain every expense, he says. Please do, I reply, sliding a detailed report across the table. Start with the Chicago hotel charges during the Henderson account closure. The silence stretches like a wire under tension. James knows he can't explain the romantic suite without revealing his affair with my wife. He's trapped between confession and continued deception, both of which end his partnership. I think I need to consult with my attorney, he says finally. That's your right, Tom says. But we need resolution within 30 days. The firm's reputation depends on maintaining ethical standards. After James leaves, the remaining partners agree on consequences. 30 days for satisfactory explanations of questionable expenses. If he can't provide them, we initiate buyout proceedings under misconduct clauses. It's not personal revenge, it's professional accountability. James's betrayal of my marriage has become evidence of his betrayal of our business partnership. That evening, I sit in my office reviewing the corporate documents that will remove James from our firm. Each page represents justice delivered through legitimate business processes rather than emotional retaliation. Catherine comes home at 7, humming that familiar melody that used to make me smile. How was your day? She asks, joining me in the kitchen. Productive. Very productive. She begins preparing dinner, moving with the fluid grace of a woman who believes she's successfully managing 2 relationships without either man discovering the truth. James called, she says casually. Something about business complications? Partnership restructuring. Nothing that affects you. The lie comes easily now. Everything affects her. The partnership restructuring will eliminate James's income, strain their relationship, and force them to confront the financial realities of building a life together on his diminished earning capacity. I'm sure you'll handle it perfectly, she says. You always do. The trust in her voice is complete. She believes I'm the same naive husband who's been funding her affair for 18 months, the same trusting fool who never suspects, never questions, never sees the obvious deceptions happening in his own house. She has no idea that I'm orchestrating the systematic destruction of everything she and James have built together. The chess match is accelerating toward endgame, and my opponents are discovering that their moves have been anticipated, countered, and turned into strategic advantages. They've been playing checkers while I've been playing chess, and checkmate is only moves away. The family dinner happens on a Tuesday evening in November, 3 weeks after the partnership meeting that effectively ended James's career. Catherine has prepared my favorite meal, herb-crusted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, and asparagus from our garden. She's wearing the navy dress I bought her for our anniversary, her hair styled the way I've always preferred. She's performing perfectly, and I know exactly why. I've been thinking about a wellness retreat, she says, passing me the wine. Something rejuvenating. There's this incredible place in Scottsdale. My fork stops halfway to my mouth. Scottsdale. Again. The same city where she spent her last romantic weekend with James, the same location where our credit cards show hotel charges, restaurant bills, and shopping sprees for two. When were you considering this? This weekend. It's a special intensive program, meditation, spiritual renewal, and holistic healing. Very exclusive, very expensive, but I think I really need it. She looks at me with the expression that's worked for 30 years, the one that says she's a devoted wife who deserves beautiful things and trusts her husband to provide them unconditionally. How expensive? $7,000 for the weekend program. Plus travel expenses. I continue eating, calculating the real numbers in my head. $7,000 for a retreat that doesn't exist. Another $3,000 for flights, hotels, and meals in Scottsdale with James. $10,000 to finance another romantic getaway with my business partner, funded by asking me to transfer money directly to her personal account. The audacity is breathtaking. She's asking me to pay for my own betrayal, and she expects me to write the check with a smile and a kiss. That's quite expensive, I say carefully. I know, but I really need this, Robert. The stress of everything, your work pressures, maintaining our home, trying to be the perfect wife, it's been overwhelming. I feel like I'm losing myself. The performance is Academy Award caliber. She's the devoted wife, sacrificing her own needs for our marriage, finally asking for something just for herself. The guilt-inducing subtext is crystal clear. A good husband would never deny his wife's emotional and spiritual well-being. The retreat is this weekend? Yes. Last-minute cancellation opened a spot. I'd need to transfer the money tomorrow to secure the reservation. Last minute. Of course. James's sudden travel to Phoenix is probably equally coincidental, equally urgent for business development that can't be postponed. I'll need to liquidate some investments, I say. The estate restructuring has funds distributed across various trusts. Her smile brightens like the sunrise. Thank you, darling. This means everything to me. After dinner, I sit in my office staring at the bank transfer interface. $7,000. The cursor blinks in the amount field, waiting for my decision. This is the moment Patricia warned me about, when maintaining my cover story becomes more expensive than revealing the truth. If I make the transfer, I'm directly funding Catherine's affair with James. If I refuse, I risk exposing my knowledge of their relationship before I'm ready for confrontation. My phone buzzes. Text from James. Phoenix meeting moved to this weekend. Henderson Trust restructuring needs immediate attention. Can you handle the Boston client calls? I stare at the message. James isn't even trying to hide the pattern anymore. He's asking me to cover his work responsibilities so he can travel to Phoenix with my wife, using money I'm supposed to transfer to finance their romantic weekend. The chess metaphor collapses under the weight of pure audacity. This isn't strategic gameplay between sophisticated opponents. This is exploitation of trust by people who assume I'm too naive, too trusting, or too weak to recognize their deception. They're treating me like a subscription service, reliable monthly funding for their affair, renewable indefinitely, cancelable at their convenience without notice or apology. The realization hits me with physical force. My hands shake as I close the bank transfer screen without completing the transaction. I walk upstairs, where Catherine is in our bathroom, preparing for bed. She looks radiant in the mirror's reflection, glowing with anticipation for her weekend plans. The transfer will go through first thing tomorrow, I lie. Perfect. Thank you, sweetheart. She turns and kisses my cheek, her lips warm against my skin. I lay in bed that night beside my wife, listening to her breathing, feeling the heat of her body next to mine. In 18 hours, she expects to be in another man's bed, in another city, funded by money she asked me to provide. But she won't be going to Scottsdale. At 6 a.m., I call Patricia Chen's emergency line. It's time, I tell her. Execute the plan. Are you absolutely certain? I think about Catherine upstairs, probably already awake, probably already planning what to wear for James in Phoenix, probably already counting the money she thinks I'm going to transfer. I'm certain. The papers will be ready by 10. I hang up and watch the sunrise through my office window. 30 years of marriage ending with mathematical precision that would make my corporate clients proud. The numbers never lie, and neither do the choices we make when we finally understand what the numbers reveal about the people we thought we could trust. Catherine leaves for work at 8:30, kissing me goodbye with the enthusiasm of a woman who believes she successfully manipulated her husband into funding another romantic weekend. She's wearing the silk scarf James bought her in Chicago, the one that appeared on our business credit card statement as a client appreciation gift. Don't forget about the transfer, she says, her hand lingering on my cheek. I'm so grateful to have a husband who supports my emotional growth. Emotional growth. That's what she's calling adultery, funded by marital theft. I'll handle it first thing, I tell her. After her car disappears around the corner, I drive to Patricia's office. The divorce papers wait in a manila envelope, along with the comprehensive financial documentation I've spent months preparing. Timing is critical, Patricia explains. Catherine gets served at her office at 10 a.m. sharp. James receives his partnership termination notice at 10:15. By the time they can communicate, both situations will be irreversible. What about the money transfer she's expecting? Instead of $7,000 for her fake retreat, she'll receive a forensic accounting of 24 months of theft. The bank has been instructed to freeze her access to all remaining joint accounts pending divorce proceedings. At 9:45, I sit in my car outside Catherine's office building. The process server, a professional woman in a business suit, enters the lobby carrying documents that will detonate my wife's carefully constructed deception. At exactly 10 a.m., my phone rings. Robert? Catherine's voice trembles with confusion and panic. Someone just served me with divorce papers. This has to be some kind of mistake. It's not a mistake. The silence stretches for 30 seconds. I can hear her breathing, can imagine her face as she processes the implications of complete exposure. You knew, she says finally. About James. About everything. I've known for months. The financial theft, the systematic deception, the affair funded by stealing from our accounts. I've documented every transaction, every lie, every stolen dollar. Robert, please. We need to talk about this. I can explain. There's nothing to explain. The numbers tell the complete story. 200,000 in unauthorized withdrawals, 50,000 in cash theft, 30,000 in personal expenses charged to business accounts, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, jewelry purchases, all of it documented with forensic precision. Her voice becomes smaller, more desperate. How did you find out? I'm a forensic accountant, Catherine. Finding hidden money is what I do for a living. You just never expected me to audit our marriage with the same methodology I use for corporate investigations. We can work this out. Marriage counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. You stole from me to finance an affair with my business partner. This isn't a marriage problem requiring counseling. This is a criminal problem requiring prosecution. I hang up and immediately dial James's direct number. He answers on the first ring. Robert, thank God. Catherine just called me hysterical about divorce papers. What the hell is happening? Check your email. The partnership termination documents arrived 15 minutes ago. The silence is different from Catherine's, sharper, more calculating. James is processing business implications, running scenarios, looking for legal angles and escape routes. This is about Catherine and me. This is about partnership violations documented over 18 months. Corporate credit card misuse, fraudulent expense reports, and theft of company resources for personal purposes. The evidence is comprehensive and legally bulletproof. You can't destroy my career over a personal matter. I'm not destroying anything. You destroyed your own career by stealing from our partnership. I'm simply documenting the consequences with the same precision I bring to all financial investigations. James's voice hardens with desperate anger. You're ruining everything over jealousy. I'm protecting legitimate business interests from a partner who violated every ethical standard we established. Tom, David, and Michael voted unanimously for your removal based purely on documented misconduct. They don't know about Catherine and me. They don't need to know. Your expense violations are termination-worthy regardless of personal motivations. The affair simply explains why you chose to steal from people who trusted you. That evening, I sit in my office reviewing the financial protection measures I implemented over 6 months of strategic planning. Every asset secured. Every account is protected. Every investment is beyond Catherine's reach. She arrives home at 9 p.m., her face streaked with tears, her professional composure completely shattered. We need to talk, she says. I gesture to the chair across from my desk, the same chair where she signed trust documents that protected our wealth from her own theft. Please sit. She looks around the office as if seeing it for the first time. The leather furniture we bought together. The family photos documenting 30 years of shared history. The grandfather clock that's marked time through decades of what I thought was partnership. I never wanted to hurt you, she begins. But you did. Systematically, methodically, for 2 years. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. James and I were just friends initially. The attraction developed gradually. The attraction is irrelevant. The theft is the issue. She stares at me with eyes that seem to see me clearly for the first time in our marriage. You're not the man I married. No, I'm not. The man you married was naive enough to trust without verification. The man you're looking at now understands that trust requires ongoing validation. What happens now? I slide a document across the desk, the settlement offer Patricia prepared. Financial resolution. You receive the house, your personal belongings, and your individual retirement accounts. I retain business assets, investment portfolio, and vacation property. She reviews the terms with growing alarm. This leaves me with almost nothing liquid. This leaves you with more than you'd receive if I pressed criminal charges for systematic theft. Criminal charges? Unauthorized access to joint accounts constitutes theft. Fraudulent transfers constitute wire fraud. Corporate expense violations through James's reports constitute conspiracy to commit embezzlement. The district attorney could build compelling cases. Catherine's hands shake as she sets down the settlement offer. You've been planning this for months. 6 months of comprehensive preparation. Asset protection, legal documentation, and evidence gathering with forensic precision. You taught me valuable lessons about strategic deception and long-term planning. I love you, Robert. Despite everything that's happened, I still love you. You love the financial security I represented. The lifestyle, the social status, and the freedom to steal from joint accounts without oversight or accountability. But you don't love me as a person. If you did, you wouldn't have stolen from me to finance betrayal with my business partner. She signs the settlement agreement with trembling hands, her tears staining the legal documents that formalize the end of our marriage. After she leaves, I pour myself a scotch and stand at the window overlooking our backyard. The garden Catherine maintained for years lies dormant for winter, but the structural bones remain, the planning she invested in creating something beautiful. The irony cuts deep. She had the patience and skill to nurture beauty, but chose instead to cultivate deception with the same methodical care. My phone buzzes with a text from our daughter Sarah. Mom called crying. What's happening? I type back. Your mother and I are divorcing. I'll explain everything when we talk. Was she cheating? Yes, with James. Jesus. I'm sorry, Dad. Are you okay? I look around the office where I discovered the truth, planned my response, and transformed from victim to strategic architect of my own protection. I'm better than okay, I reply. I'm finally free to build something honest. 8 months later, I'm sitting on the deck of my new waterfront condo overlooking Boston Harbor, watching sailboats navigate the channel with mathematical precision. The morning sun transforms the water into liquid gold, and for the first time in years, I feel genuinely peaceful. Sarah visits every other weekend now, usually bringing her boyfriend Marcus and their rescue dog Bailey. She completed her MBA at Wharton with highest honors, possessing the analytical mind I've always respected. She understood the divorce immediately, not just emotional betrayal, but the financial implications of systematic theft. Mom made calculated choices, she said during our first conversation after the settlement. You protected yourself and preserved family assets for legitimate purposes. I respect strategic thinking over emotional reaction. The investment firm has thrived under restructured leadership. After James's termination, we recruited Rebecca Martinez, a brilliant strategist who expanded our client base by 40% while maintaining the ethical standards that define our reputation. Tom, David, and Michael never learned personal details of James's misconduct. The corporate violations provided sufficient justification for removal. James and Catherine moved to San Diego, where he works for a smaller firm at significantly reduced compensation. The financial stress has apparently damaged their relationship beyond repair. Sarah mentions occasional calls from her mother, usually requesting emergency funds for expenses that sound suspiciously like lifestyle maintenance rather than genuine crises. The poetic justice satisfies me more than expected. Catherine chose financial security over marriage vows, then lost both when her deception was exposed with forensic precision. James chose personal pleasure over professional ethics, then discovered that corporate partnerships require integrity that can't be rebuilt once shattered. My phone rings, interrupting morning coffee. Margaret Harrison's name appears, federal judge Margaret Harrison, whom I met at a legal conference 4 months ago. Good morning, Robert. Are you available for dinner tonight? I'd enjoy that. Your place or mine? Actually, I'm cooking. My kitchen needs a proper christening. Margaret purchased a Beacon Hill townhouse last month, beautiful 19th century architecture with original hardwood floors and tasteful modern updates. She's brilliant, accomplished, and refreshingly direct about relationship expectations and personal boundaries. I'll bring wine, I say. Perfect. 7:30. Our relationship developed gradually, built on mutual respect and transparent communication. Margaret knows about the divorce, understands the financial complexities, and appreciates my methodical approach to rebuilding both personal and professional life. She represents everything Catherine wasn't: honest, financially independent, secure enough to never require deception as a relationship strategy. After Margaret's call, I reviewed portfolio performance on my laptop. The asset protection measures implemented during divorce proceedings have generated returns beyond legal security. Concentrated investment strategies have outperformed market indices by 12%, while real estate holdings provide steady income streams that support my simplified lifestyle. The Martha's Vineyard vacation house sold for 60% above the purchase price. I used the proceeds to buy a smaller cottage in Maine, a place for writing, reflection, and hosting Sarah during academic breaks. It belongs to me alone, purchased with protected assets Catherine never accessed, despite 2 years of systematic theft. At noon, I drive to our monthly partners meeting downtown. The firm occupies 3 floors of a Harborview tower, success measured in client satisfaction scores and asset growth that reflects ethical business practices rather than personal misconduct. The Henderson account expanded their portfolio again, Rebecca reports during the strategic review. They're recommending us to 4 additional families. Patricia Henderson says she's never experienced more confident financial guidance. Tom nods approvingly. Ethical consistency generates referral business. Clients recognize integrity even when they can't articulate specific differences. The observation carries subtext about our partnership restructuring. James's removal sent clear messages about firm values. Professional standards matter more than personal relationships. Ethical behavior is non-negotiable, and trust once violated can't be restored through apology or promise. David presents quarterly growth statistics. Revenue up 28%, client retention at 96%, new account acquisition exceeding all projections. Success validates difficult decisions made 8 months ago during crisis management. Any regrets about partnership changes? Michael asks during a private conversation after the meeting. None whatsoever, I reply. The firm operates with integrity that reflects our actual values rather than convenient compromises. What about personally? James was a long-time associate. I consider the question with analytical precision. James was never genuinely a friend. He was a business colleague who exploited personal access to destroy my marriage while stealing from our partnership. The friendship was performance art designed to maintain position while systematically undermining trust. Some relationships aren't worth preserving once their true nature becomes clear, I say. That evening, Margaret's kitchen smelled like rosemary and garlic. She's preparing lamb with roasted vegetables, working with judicial efficiency that mirrors her courtroom precision. Her kitchen reflects her chambers, everything purposeful, nothing wasted, organized for optimal function. "How was your day?" she asks, accepting the burgundy I selected based on her stated preferences. "Productive. Quarterly numbers exceeded all projections. And personally?" Margaret always probes beyond surface responses, seeking emotional truth with the same thoroughness she brings to legal analysis. It's what makes her exceptional as both a judge and an increasingly important person in my life. "Peaceful," I say, meaning it completely. She opens the wine with practiced efficiency. We've developed small rituals, shared preferences, and inside references that build intimacy without desperation or performance anxiety. "I received an interesting call yesterday," she says casually. "Catherine contacted my office requesting consultation about post-divorce financial planning." My wine glass pauses halfway to my lips. "You spoke with her?" "Briefly." I explained that our personal relationship creates an obvious conflict of interest, but I listened to her immediate concerns. Margaret sets down her wine and looks directly at me. She's struggling financially. The settlement left her property rich, but cash poor, and she can't afford the maintenance costs. She's considering selling the house. The information doesn't surprise me. Catherine chose real estate over liquid assets during negotiations, believing property would provide security and social status. But houses require constant financial feeding, utilities, taxes, insurance, repairs, landscaping. Without my income subsidizing her lifestyle, she's learning that assets require ongoing investment. She also mentioned James, Margaret continues. Apparently their relationship is experiencing significant strain. Financial pressure tends to reveal authentic character. She seemed to believe you might consider modifying the settlement terms, providing additional ongoing support. I process Catherine's request with the same analytical methodology I apply to investment decisions. She made calculated choices during our marriage: theft, systematic deception, and betrayal of fundamental trust. She made calculated choices during divorce proceedings, prioritizing immediate assets over long-term cash flow, choosing tangible property over investment income. Now she wants me to rescue her from the consequences of her own strategic decisions. What did you tell her? That divorced spouses aren't responsible for rescuing former partners from poor financial planning decisions. Margaret's response reflects the clear boundaries that make our relationship sustainable. She understands personal accountability, professional ethics, and the importance of allowing people to experience natural consequences for their choices. She won't be the last person requesting financial assistance, Margaret adds. Success attracts individuals who confuse access with entitlement. After dinner, we sit on Margaret's back deck overlooking her compact garden. Evening air carries jasmine scent and distant city sounds. It's peaceful in ways my marriage never achieved. No hidden agendas, no performance anxiety, no constant vigilance against deception or manipulation. "I received interesting news today," I tell her. "Sarah wants to join the firm after graduation. Following parental footsteps? Building on family strengths with her own innovations. She possesses natural talent for forensic accounting, and her generation understands technology applications mine never mastered." Margaret smiles. "Merit-based hiring or nepotistic preference?" "Pure merit. She'll start as a junior associate, prove capabilities through performance, and earn advancement like every other employee." Fair and strategic. Your ex-wife would have expected special treatment based on relationship status. The observation hits precisely. Catherine always expected preferential consideration in marriage, financial planning, social situations, and divorce proceedings. She confused access with entitlement, assumed trust meant absence of oversight, and believed emotional manipulation could substitute for honest performance. Sarah represents everything Catherine isn't: honest, hardworking, willing to earn respect through demonstrated competence rather than demanding it through relationship leverage. My phone buzzes with a text message. Unknown number, San Diego area code. "Robert, this is James. I know we haven't communicated since the partnership termination, but I wanted you to understand that Catherine and I are separating. Whatever happened between us personally, I never intended to destroy your family. I hope eventually you might find it possible to forgive what I did. I show the message to Margaret, who reads it with judicial skepticism. Interesting timing, she observes. Immediately following your ex-wife's financial consultation request. You suspect coordination? I think desperate people often synchronize their appeals for sympathy and assistance. I deleted the message without responding. James made his choices just as Catherine made hers. They chose deception over honesty, theft over integrity, and personal pleasure over professional responsibility. The consequences, financial stress, relationship failure, career limitations, social isolation, represent natural results of their decisions. I'm not responsible for rescuing them from the life they deliberately chose to construct through systematic betrayal. Margaret takes my hand as we watch the sunset paint Boston Harbor in shades of amber and crimson. City lights begin twinkling like terrestrial stars, and for the first time in years, I feel genuinely optimistic about future possibilities. Any regrets? She asks. I consider the question carefully, reviewing 18 months with analytical precision. Discovery of betrayal, months of strategic planning, execution of financial protection, divorce proceedings, and rebuilding of professional and personal life foundations. None, I say finally. I learned valuable lessons about trust verification, strategic thinking, and the importance of protecting what you've legitimately built. And personally, I learned that some relationships are worth fighting to preserve, while others are worth fighting to escape with dignity intact. Margaret squeezes my hand. Present company? Present company represents the possibility of building something honest and sustainable. Evening settles around us like a comfortable silence. Tomorrow, I'll return to work, continue building the firm's success, and help clients protect wealth from market volatility and personal betrayal. Sarah will graduate in May and join our team, bringing fresh perspectives and technological expertise that will strengthen our competitive position. Catherine and James will continue managing the consequences of their choices, financial stress, relationship failure, professional limitations, and social costs of being known as people who betrayed trust for temporary pleasure. But tonight, I sit on a deck overlooking Boston Harbor with a woman who values honesty above comfort, integrity above convenience, partnership above manipulation. The numbers never lie, and neither do the choices we make when we finally understand what the numbers reveal about the people in our lives. I chose protection over destruction, strategy over emotion, building new foundations over mourning old betrayals. The chess game ended months ago, and I won by creating a life where such games are no longer necessary.